Welcome to MRE Uncut, where we'll give you real and practical insights into the real estate scene in Melbourne. We'll discuss what's happening in the industry, all backed by MRE's history of over 30 years in the game. With that said, let's jump into this week's episode of MRE Uncut.
Welcome to another MRE podcast. My name's Stephen Fitzsimon, and today I'm joined by founder of Melbourne Real Estate, Peter Hooymans.
Thanks, mate.
And we're joined once again with our esteemed previous colleague and now CEO of Stockdale Leggo, Charlotte Pascoe.
Hello.
Yay. Right. I'm going to start here.
Okay, you go.
Because in this game...
You wanted it done now.
The detail matters. Yeah, I want it done now.
Do it now.
Detail matters. We agree on that. We've got to look after all the little pieces of, from contract, filling out contracts to how tidy the office is, to so many things.
Yep.
Without doing an exhaustive list.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you mentioned those two, though, because like you need the high detail on all the contractual matters, absolutely. But you also have the eye for detail for every little bit in the office needs to be perfect, which is not common amongst all the real estate agents.
Okay. Well, that's a curse, that is, because it bends my brain. But where I was heading was your caliper test, which we've spoken about caliper previously before everyone. That's our psychometric profiling to help everybody in the team grow and know what their weaknesses and strengths are. So your urgency was 99 out of 100.
Yes, it was.
And your thoroughness was
7 out of 100.
7 out of 100.
Yeah.
Charlotte's urgency was 99 out of 100.
Yes, it was.
It still is. And your thoroughness was
extraordinarily high in comparison to you two. Yes. I was 11.
Yes. And mine was about a 6, I think, from memory. But my urgency was also
got some mayo on
99 out of 100.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. So my question to you, like, despite the fact that we all have low thoroughness, I'm going to say getting shit done is where it's at in this game. Back when we were working together,
especially in this crowd,
we're not going to have any objectives. We would have ideas. We'd go, I'd do something like I'd go after Eric or I don't know, one of the training thing, or McGrath's Principles Workshop, which was back in the day fantastic. I'm devastated I don't still run it. It was so good. Come back. We'd put ideas on the board in the boardroom. It'd be 3 different coloured texts. You remember that? I'd do a whole wall. I'm talking a wall of 8 metres long by 3 metres high. It'd be 150 ideas. And then Charlotte would come in and knock out all the boring ones, and we'd distill 100 ideas down to maybe 15.
Yeah.
And then down to 10, and then we'd just go.
Yeah, and do them.
And implement.
And then we had easy wins. So you'd do the ones that could be done quickly and easily that would be a minor change. Might be like the fruit bowls or the whatever it was. Yes. We can just change that now, done. And then there's the big ones like changing softwares, for operations. And they're big, but they're super important.
Adding in quality control steps. You mentioned fruit bowls. I remember Tom Peters talking about that at ARAC 2007. I came back and said, we're going to do fruit bowls. And Aaron was like, well, why? I said, because we do.
Healthier stuff.
Yeah,
if flowers.
Fruit. Remember flowers? We had flower delivery every week as well. All the little touches.
Yep.
What do you reckon?
Urgency, I agree. 100%.
Urgency, get it done versus, fluffing around.
I don't do well with fluff.
No.
I'm just a bit concerned that there's nobody here representing the people who have got high levels of thoroughness.
Yeah.
And here we are calling
it doesn't matter because we're going to get it done, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, the reason we're sitting here...
We couldn't wait for someone to get you to do it because we had to do it now.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, there was some stuff that we did make some mistakes, but we do have someone in the room with a high thoroughness actually capturing all of this, luckily for us, because we would have forgot to push play. We would have.
You're probably right.
Or left the microphone unplugged or something.
Or not posted afterwards.
So, yeah, did we drive? I think we drove people nuts too.
I think that's a risk. Yeah. It's a serious risk. And especially if you're dealing with different characters, a good team, I think, needs all parts. But I think it's important that the people who have got the high urgency are the ones that are really pushing the momentum because how do you run an office? Like you're running all these offices, Charlotte, and I'm sitting there going, wow, we work in one and we've got another little one, and that's mad. And then you're doing it on a completely different scale. And I can't imagine how you could operate if you had a lower level of.
So I've got a question. Because your urgency is off the chart.
Yes.
Like us, so we understand you, which is helpful. You got the 30 plus officers with stockies, principals in each, all varying. There's no way they're all going to be 100 out of 100 for urgency.
Correct.
So how do you deal with that? How do you, because you're at warp 7 every day, every minute, and they're not necessarily, especially if you probably go regional, mate, they're a bit more cruisy out there, you know, sort of thing. So what do you do?
Struggle?
Check yourself, or do you just kind of go,
I do. No, I have to adjust myself to who I'm dealing with, what they want. We're very much about what's your goals, how do you want to achieve it. So it's different when you're in the business. So the business that, if I look at franchising, for example, this is the business that I can control. So I look at what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses. I'm clear on what my strengths are, but I'm more clear on what my weaknesses are. And the team that I've built around me, it's taken time, but I now have a team that completely complement. You don't need 2 Charlottes in a room. What we need is a Charlotte and someone who comes up with an idea, and then someone who can, you know, design that, and then somebody who can follow through on the account side and so forth. So I've I guess gathered a group of amazing individuals who are the team who complement me in that their strengths are what I'm not great at. When it comes then down to on a franchising level, when I go into somebody else's business, it's not my role to tell them what they have to do. And every franchise operates differently. But the way that we look at it is you've got the people who are on a mission and they want to be the $1 million agents. They want to grow their business. They want to push and drive. My role is to help them on that path. Then I've got other people who have created these businesses and they're ticking along at a healthy rate.
Yes.
They're maybe got another 5 or 10 years left in the tank and then they might sell. So for me, it's working out, okay, well, you're wanting to take a slow down step, which goes against my natural, but keep going, build, grow. So I have to then, I guess, recalibrate what my expectations are, which I think I've got quite good at, and understand what's important to them. When I know what's important to them, what their family situation looks like, their financial situation, what they want to achieve within their business, then it's my job to help them go on their journey. And I think it's easier in some ways because I'm not trying to manage that. How I am within the offices that I have is very different to we've got 7 offices ourselves. In those offices, it's a different way of doing business. But as a franchisor, I'm there as a support.
What's the
and
difference
a toolkit
between yours and theirs?
I can control what happens within the offices. And in some offices, we've got business partners. So we've got some that we own on our own. We've got some that we have partnerships in. If it's a partnership, my role is to support those partners or that partner on their pathway, and that might be through resources, administrative help, whatever it might be, funding. But the ones that we own, we can control. And so we're very clear on what the direction is. How do we want this to look? What are we doing? What do we need to put in place? One of them, for example, is an existing office that's been there for 15, 20 years. And that needs to be reset. And then we've got another office which is brand new and that needs growth. So you're either, for me, it's been about setting foundations or setting and refounding a business. And they're
How do you reset?
Different.
How do you do that?
Go back to the drawing board, blank piece of paper with absolutely everything. And
Just
this is
have a clean out type of thing?
Not necessarily, but I think if you're trying to make change or improve a business and you're looking at what you're doing and how you can take that forward, that's probably the biggest mistake you'll make in business, because what you have today might reflect what was relevant. And, you know, you look at technology, what technology was 3 years ago to what it is today. If I take a program and say, well, I need to push this into the next 3 years, is that the best decision for the business? Probably not. What you need to do is go, well, let's look at what the tech stack looks like today, knowing that it's changed substantially over the last 3 years. What should technology look like for what we're trying to achieve? Go and build it. And then look back and go, well, this is what we have. Is what we have able to come on the journey with us? Yes or no? Is some of it, all of it? It doesn't actually matter. If you are continually going back to a blank piece of paper on a regular basis with the business, and that can be from what you're looking at in a marketing front, which is what we've done, you know, even down to a process, a document, a letter.
Marketing's become harder.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the landscape has shifted.
So much more complicated. So much harder.
Digital's tougher.
Yeah. And it changes.
And that's because these, you know, the giant platforms kind of have a key to the gate with their algorithm.
Yeah.
For which no one knows the secret.
And then you remove cookies.
Yeah.
And now we have to reimagine everything from the ground up. Like it changes on the flip of a dime and you can't control it. But you have to continually be competitive analysis, what's out there. You've got to also understand your market though. So I've got an office out in Warrnambool and they have to advertise in local paper because they've got farmers who have huge properties. They're selling these sheep stations. They're getting $10, $15 million. They don't have the internet. You know, they've been looking after sheep for the last 50 years.
What's that?
But they've got a shitload of money sitting there.
Yeah.
What they do is they drive into town. They pick up the local paper, they go home and they circle it and they call. So you can't rely on that consumer using digital, but it's understanding what your market is and what your demographic is. Whereas you go into, I don't know, we're sitting here in Hawthorn, you're going to have all different streams of demographic, which makes it even more complex because the younger generation are relying on TikTok. They're relying on, Facebook has now changed. People are leaned more towards Instagram because Facebook's become a little bit more
YouTube.
Of an advertising. It just keeps changing.
Yeah. And what's available online now, it's just bonkers.
Yeah. And then my mum still sits there and reads The Age.
Yeah. But then some people want the digital.
paper.
So like in Hawthorn, you've also got the
do the
80-year-old
crossword.
who's had the house for 50 years and doesn't have the internet. So you can't rely on them engaging in your digital footprint to come and find you and engage with your business. So you have to understand all the demographics, who are your key demographics and how do you appeal to them? And maybe you can't appeal to every demographic.
Maybe you don't
Pick a
want to.
demographic.
Yeah, exactly.
So across your offices, what's the theme? What's a common thread for the success, the most successful offices, do you think? Because you're knowing your stats. This is Charlotte's overdrive, urgency kicking into overdrive, by the way. We're only about a 7.5 at the moment. We might get to a 9.
Yeah, she can talk faster than this.
I know, heaps
I'm
faster.
consciously speaking slowly.
Yes. But what do you see is kind of like there's an office, let's say an office was really firing and you go and you immerse and you're driving back and you go, yeah, okay, they've got this and this right.
Number one, database. Crap data in, crap data out. People sit there and say, I've got 50,000 people on my database. Well, you don't. You have an incorrect phone book with people that don't know who you are. So you've got to have a really good database that you're engaging with on a regular basis. How many points of contact, how are you engaging with them, how are they been categorized, what communication are you giving them? People don't like ego marketing. So they're, hey, I just sold something. Hey, I just listed something. No one cares about a real estate agent unless they're engaging in the real estate journey and they want to see that you're a human who happens to be in real estate.
Yeah.
So you've got to have community. You've got to be part of the culture. Actually, the thing for me that I found really interesting going to Stockdale Leggo is the thing that our regional offices do extraordinarily well is community.
Yeah.
So they're at the football club and then, going through is it sponsorship or is it actually community engagement? Because if you're giving them $2,000 but you're not turning up to anything, it's just a board and then it's brand awareness as opposed to lead generation tool where you're getting in the community and you're creating the leads.
Do you think that's easier in regional because,
No.
for a town of 10,000, no?
I just think that that's how they do it. But why can't you do that in Metro? Like we're in Hawthorn here.
You can.
You can do exactly the same thing.
Good agents do.
Correct. So the good agents, it doesn't matter where you are. They're engaged in a community. They've got a really good database. They're a human who happens to be a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And they don't have
Yeah, I like that.
They don't have the ego.
So database, what else?
The engagement in community.
Yep. Financial
Good
nous.
person.
Yeah.
I think you've got to identify where your strengths are, right? So you can get somebody who is a sensational salesperson but not a leader.
Yep.
Or someone who's a leader and not necessarily a great salesperson.
Yes.
You've got to understand this is where the caliper thing comes in as well. Yeah. What are your strengths? So if you are a fantastic salesperson who's not a great leader, well, how are you going to make sure your team is led?
Would your high-performance teams be using psychometric tools as well, some of them, or are they not quite? No,
not so much.
Okay. Just curious.
One of the big key things for recruitment in regional is community engagement.
Yeah, right.
So if you can go and find someone new into the industry who's part of the footy team, goes to the school,
yes,
you want that person because they know the town in a different light. So the psychometric tests, you also have a much smaller pool of people. So it's really based on what your relationships are within the community. Are they seen as being a good person within the community or are they someone that people don't particularly like? That's probably the biggest piece Obviously, they've got to have a brain. They've got to be able to do the things, be dedicated and driven. But it really comes down to how they engage within the community, how they're viewed by the community, and do they have a professional, do they reflect your values?
Sounds like out west.
That's good. That's a good little snapshot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Like, I think it's funny when we do social media posts and so forth, when you involve the human side, they always get more engagement. So I see the relevance in what you say there. That's
hard to keep doing. It's hard to keep finding content. And
one of my biggest things
sharing.
on LinkedIn that I got engagement on was a pair of my.
You got engaged on LinkedIn.
I did. It was beautiful. Don't tell my husband; he'll be upset, or he might be happy. I don't know. I live up in the Yarra Valley, a couple of acres. We've got chickens, so I had my pair of high heels on one side and my boots on the other.
Nice.
And I just talked about, people talk about balance in life and that sort of thing. Another one was me working with my son asleep. It's a 2-month-old baby. I had my laptop and I took a photo and I was like, I'm balancing a baby on my lap while I'm working. But they're the ones that actually get the most amount of engagement. It's not we just sold something, we just leased something, because no one really cares.
No, they don't, do they?
And they're going to go to an aggregator if they want to know your results.
Yeah.
If they can see
It's
you
all
and identify you
transparent,
and they think about you because they engage with you and they like you, they'll go to the aggregator to see, yes, they know what they're doing, or no, they haven't sold the properties.
There's no smoke and mirrors anymore. It's all online, real time.
So much information there for clients to get at their fingertips.
Yes. Yeah, that's really true. And the data you're referring to, because I'm a fan of being able to be great at data, I think it's actually much, much harder than it is to say the words. It's so hard. Is that a system you guys have built in-house?
No, I've been really clear. We're not a tech company.
Okay.
There are so many prop tech out. There's so much prop tech out there.
Yes. And it costs a heap.
Oh, it does, but they're continually changing.
Yeah.
So
and you've got to use it and use it well.
Yeah, and most people use it like 7 to 10% of its capacity.
So you use an industry platform.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, and that's for all of them. I think Stockies years ago, before my time, had created a program in there. But at the end of the day, unless you continue, tech has moved. It moves so quickly that unless you continue to invest in it and continue to develop it, you're going to fall behind really quickly.
Yeah.
So
and the tech can be as good as you like, but it still comes back to the user.
I was going to say it's only as good as the person using it.
Yeah.
So you can have exceptional technology and it looks beautiful and sexy and look what it can do.
Yes.
And then you get in and then you're like, oh, do I have to put a phone number as well as a name? Oh, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, so you need to, in an office scenario, you need to be really diligent about who you're putting in charge of that database and have some process around getting the data in.
But it's driving them to use it. Like, I think Charlotte's on the money when you talk about having a fantastic database, but if you don't use it effectively, having a fantastic database becomes pointless, irrelevant very quickly. And if you're not communicating with them, then you're going to appear as spam and they're not going to know you and they're not going to connect with you.
Unsubscribes. Yeah. This is the biggest thing in communication.
Unsubscribes. Just like how
but if they're unsubscribing, then it's because you're not giving them the content that they want to read and listen to and hear about and learn about.
Yeah, 100%.
So I've got a question for you. 20 odd years in the game for you.
Mm-hmm.
You started when you're 5.
Yes, 20 odd years in the game.
Thank you, Steve.
So now, CEO, an awesome ascent, for you personally, professionally. Top tips for somebody in the game. We've got a lot of youngsters in our team.
Loads.
And we get, like yesterday I went around the room with 6. But they'd have to be under 25. And I was like, how do I want to meet property developers. They all had a different little vision about what they thought real estate was. Yeah. And I had to really think hard, okay, what's the pathway for that? What do you say to youngsters out there who want to be positioning themselves to be future leaders or a future CEO, future managing director, or, run a company, start their own business? What do you, it's 20 years of grind. So at the point, like for me, it's not easy. But what do you think now that you're in that role, looking back, what do you think were some of the key catalysts to get you to where you are now? I know that's a deep question.
It is a hard question.
Yeah.
Probably a combination of a few things. First one is that I always worked bloody hard.
Yes, you did.
I never took the easy way out in any job I've done.
Yeah.
I would always turn up. I was always available. Nothing was a no.
I remember we used to do those road shows overseas, Singapore. They're hard.
Yes, I
Right,
remember.
they're hard, painful.
They
And
seem
Charlotte would
so
go,
glamorous until I did it.
I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll go.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
go. I'll
You
go.
come back
Send
and
me.
you're just
Send me.
falling
Hello, send me.
asleep because
Yeah.
you just cannot get.
Yeah.
I remember I used to get the overnight flight and I'd come straight from the airport into the office. And then you actually said, stop, get a day flight, go home and sleep, and then come in. But I was like, but I might lose a day's time. It's,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But I think working really hard and
Yep.
not saying no, saying yes, even if it's not something you feel comfortable with
Not
or it's
saying
what
no.
you want to do. Not saying no to opportunities. So if
okay.
someone turns around and says, hey, can you do this? Instead of going, oh, I don't really know how to do it, I'm probably not the right person.
Yeah.
Look at it as an opportunity to learn. I think I am where I am because I've worked hard. I've always said yes to opportunities no matter how. I talk about being 1% braver than saying no. You don't have to jump at an opportunity if it comes along and you think, oh, this is a little bit out of my comfort zone. You don't have to jump into it and be really strong in that decision, but you just have to be 1% stronger and braver and go, you know what, yeah, I'll give it a go. And that was part of the thing with you guys. As you said, I was previously that I was jealous Craig Armadale, great brand, great opportunities, great market, so many wonderful things. But coming over here, it was going to a brand that didn't know. It was going on a gut feel. I thought, you know what, why not? Just being strong enough to go, I'm going to give it a go. I think I've always been vulnerable, transparent and authentic to who I am. I don't think that I've along the way tried to be something I'm not. I used to joke that when I stepped into this role, I was trying really hard to be a 60-year-old man and I just couldn't do it. So I decided I should just be me because that was a bit.
Don't get me started.
Well, it was a bit confronting going into, I think I talked to you about this a little while ago, sitting on a meeting with all of these iconic people where their brand names are their actual names. And I'm sitting on this Zoom. The first time there was like 78 people. I was the only female on this Zoom, 78 of them. And it was all the bigwigs. And I just remember sitting there going, holy crap, how am I sitting in this meeting? And I had imposter syndrome like there's no tomorrow. And I just kind of put my head down, bum up, did what I've always done, which is just work. And I figured that if I did the right thing, then it would pay off in the end. And that's sort of where we are now.
That's really cool. That's another subject, one I would love to touch on at some point, which why are there not more women in the senior roles? I think it's going to change.
It already has. There's a number of them that have been appointed. Leanne Pilkington in Sydney was the only other female in a CEO role of a network.
Yep.
And I was number 2. Now there's about 5 or 6 of us around the country.
It's a no-brainer.
But it's...
Yeah, it's slow. But there's a lot of aging principles now that I think you're probably going to exit over the next 5 to 10.
Correct.
And then that should open the door, hopefully.
I think if you look across society, real estate's one of the stodgiest type of
it
operations.
annoys me.
You know, real estate, maybe accountancy and lawyers. Do you know what I mean? Like engineering. Do you know what I mean? But then you sit there and you're just like, they're better than blokes at doing the deals.
Pretty much all of the key traits that real estate takes.
They're better at managing people. Yet for some reason they haven't been, I don't know if the word's welcome or comfortable or whatever.
I think it's comfortable. I think it's opportunity. And I think that it's not been normal. So it's kind of
they need to be brave
you
because
have to,
it's not normal.
Yeah. You have to push a bit harder and step out of your comfort zone more than.
But like I look at that and I sort of go, well, it's only really the last 25 years that really everybody's been encouraging women to be equal to men. Do you know what I mean? Like in just in life.
Yeah. Let alone in real estate.
Yeah. And so, you know, so those kids are now 35 that are sort of seeing that benefit. So there's still a fair bit of growth to come.
How many female principals in your network?
Oh, 1, 2, probably about 5, 6.
Yeah, so not enough, but not
7.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of 10, 15%. 50% would be good.
It would be.
Wouldn't that be great?
But it also depends, you know, going back when I started in real estate, I was a property manager. The idea of a property manager becoming a principal was so, like, you go back 20 years ago, females were property managers and males were salespeople.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who has mastered it. I just love what she's done. Sarah Hackett. Do you know anything about Sarah?
I don't know Sarah.
Oh, damn. Get online and have a look at Sarah Hackett and her crew.
Okay.
It's like Wonder Woman Island, but it's like girl power.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, seriously, serious girl power. And they're writing.
Do it now, and I'll write it down for you so you don't forget it.
Sarah's talking at ARAC this year, and she's writing 12 million.
Yeah, okay.
3 million a quarter in comms.
Pretty amazing. I'm assuming
Incredible.
she has an amazing EBU underneath her.
I think she's got amazing everything.
Yeah.
Team looks amazing.
Yeah.
But Place estate agents, they've been grooming, grafting, growing for a long time.
Place have a very good business.
She's anyway, just women in like I love the fact that she's thought of as the most influential woman in real estate, and I hope that more people follow her.
Yeah,
more
absolutely.
girls follow what Sarah's done, actually.
Yeah,
and
it's only going to be better for the industry.
I went down that road because you're one of those people that needs to lead the charge, my friend.
Thanks.
No pressure.
None taken.
A little bit of pressure.
Little bit of pressure.
But I can't do it today.
What else?
That's it. So thanks for coming in, Charlotte. That was
that's
amazing.
that's super cool. It's great to have you back.
Yeah.
And had to see you. It's always good to see you.
Yeah.
Nice
You had
to
like
see
a
you guys.
huge ball of energy.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
room.
Quick conversations.
Considering you've only just had a third child, like recently.
Yes.
Yeah, you look great.
Thanks.
So you're keeping fit and you're balancing and you live out of town.
Mm-hmm.
So, remote is a thing that you're making work. So
I use my time in the car to make my calls.
Yeah. Cars are
Never a
office bit.
downtime.
What's the car look like inside? Does it look like someone slept in there, or is it neat?
No, it's neat. I have to, when my husband borrows it, it usually doesn't end up like that. But no, 3 kids in the back and...
No Apple cores? Well, I always end up with Apple cores in my car.
Do you stop on the side of the road with a laptop and hotspot to the phone so you can...
Sometimes.
Are you that driven on the remote stuff?
No, sometimes, but usually there's calls to Kat, who works in our office, going, oh, can you please send an email to this person? Can you get this done? So I'll make the call back to the office, say I need these things done.
Hey Siri is a lot.
I mean, just quickly, Charlotte and I...
I don't have time for that. I just want
it's all
someone
my
to do it.
calls. It's all my calls. Like
Charlotte and I had a catch up, I don't know, a couple of months ago. It was coffee. And we were talking about some business stuff and this and that, just workshopping. And then my phone rings the other day. It's like, I don't know, 7:30 in the morning, and it's old mate here. And she's like, I was having to think about that thing and I've got some ideas. And I was like, hang on a sec, I need to get my iPad. I was like, far away. And she's like, machine gun to me. And I was like, and then I was going for my walk. It was only just like daylight. And I'm thinking, actually, that's really good. So keep doing that. Not for me, but I don't mean
keep
like,
calling you at 7
just
a.m.
keep doing what you're doing, because I reckon it's fabulous. And
thanks, Beck.
your network is very lucky to have you as their leader.
Here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming in.
Awesome to see you.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys.